What is going on, everybody? This is Jacob Motta here with Darius Sethman. Darius, how are you doing today?
Doing well, Jake. Thank you so much for having me. So happy to be on SportsFan today and get my first taste. It's got a busy weekend of sports, so I'm really excited to get right into it.
I hear you there, Darius. I am excited as well. And you know what? We're going to go ahead and we're going to start off in the NFL. We've got a big divisional playoff lined up, and it's going to be an exciting one. And with that said, we're going to start with the first game, Jacksonville traveling to Kansas City. And honestly, I think this is going to be a great game after that Jags historic comeback last week. I mean, what a game that was, first of all.
Oh, absolutely. I mean, when you talk about it, Trevor Lawrence, 4 picks in the first half. It looked like the Jags season was going to come to an end and the Chargers were going to move on. What a tale of two halves in that one. It doesn't get more entertaining than that. I think Trevor Lawrence, with what you're seeing from him, is he's truly put the Jacksonville Jaguars on his back this season. The season was not going well to start, but then they turned it around. I mean, Trevor Lawrence had a higher completion rating than even Patrick Mahomes himself. They won their last 6 games of the season. They outscored Los Angeles, the Chargers, 24-3 in the second half. And then Trevor Lawrence, 28 of 47, 4 touchdowns in that second half. But I also think the run game with Travis Etienne is going to be very important. He had 20 carries on Saturday with 109 yards as well. And this is not Jacksonville. This is going to be Arrowhead Stadium in Kansas City. So this is going to be the ultimate test for Trevor Lawrence, and I'm going to be interested to see if he's up to the challenge.
Exactly. You know, it's going to be really tough to go into Arrowhead and beat the Chiefs. It's been a tough task for anybody this year. You know, you think back, the only team that really dominates Patrick Mahomes is the Bengals, and, you know, there's a chance we're going to get to see that game. But overall, you know, in this one, I like Patrick Mahomes at home. I think it's too tall of a task for Trevor Lawrence, and if he makes the mistakes that he made in the first half against the Chargers last week, I don't see him coming back from that, especially against that high-powered Chiefs offense and a defense that's been pretty steady.
Yeah, I do. I do as well. I think Patrick Mahomes is just too good, and especially with the fact when you have Andy Reid and Eric Bieniemy coming off a bye week, you know they haven't just been sitting around. They have been scheming like crazy, so they're going to be ready to go. And I just think ultimately the experience of the Kansas City Chiefs will prevail over the young talent of the Jacksonville Jaguars.
Gotcha. And then let's go ahead and jump into the next game. It's the Giants versus the Eagles. You know, I like the Giants in this one. I'm not going to lie. I think the Eagles coming out of the bye, you know, the Giants are looking for revenge. I could see it going either way, but I like the Giants' chances in this one.
I certainly do like the Giants' chances, and especially the way they won that wild card game against the Minnesota Vikings. I was probably one of the very few people who thought that the Minnesota Vikings had a legitimate chance to go all the way to the Super Bowl. And Daniel Jones, you know, we talk about this has been a career year for a multitude of quarterbacks in the NFL. And Daniel Jones is right up there for most improved player. I mean, he has put this Giants team on his back. They have not given him as many responsibilities as they have in the past. You know, now they're more reliant on Saquon Barkley. Brian Daboll, who's a defensive coach, you can tell this defense has been stepping up. And I think Brian Daboll is certainly a Coach of the Year candidate as well. I just think ultimately the talent of the Philadelphia Eagles is what's going to matter. The fact that Jalen Hurts is back, he played the last game of the regular season, which was against the divisional rival Giants. He didn't throw for any touchdowns. He did throw a pick, but you know, I think it's just good for Eagles fans just to see him get back under his belt. The fact that the Eagles have won both of the matchups in the regular season, I also think plays in their favor. I can see this being a very close game decided by a field goal, especially with the cold weather. But like you said, Jake, I am certainly not surprised why a lot of people are taking the New York Giants to win this one.
Yeah, I really like the way Daniel Jones has been playing. I mean, you couldn't have asked for a better game, like you said, last week. And, you know, I think if the Eagles, you know, if they're looking past this game, since they've already beaten the Giants, it could be a nightmare for them at home. And I think the Giants have a good chance. And I honestly want to see how Jalen Hurts plays coming off that little shoulder injury. I know we've seen him once, but, I mean, you never know.
And
it's
I mean,
a big game.
Also with Daniel Jones, like if I didn't give you a name of a quarterback and I told you this quarterback for the regular season, threw 15 touchdowns and only 5 picks, you would not think it was Daniel Jones. I mean, that's how impressive of a season he's had.
I agree. I'm right there with you on the Daniel Jones train. I really like it. Then we'll hop into the next round of games. We'll go Cincinnati-Buffalo. Oh, my goodness.
Yeah.
Are we in for a heck of a game here? You know, we didn't get to see the game played out in full. It's really sad what happened to DeMar
Absolutely.
Hamlin. I'm very happy to see that he's doing well now, and I think the Bills are going to be coming out in this game, as a win it for DeMar. You've seen on social media everybody's getting 3'd out is what they're calling it. They're all getting chains with the number 3, and that's gonna be really cool to see. Bengals fans don't like to hear that. They've got a purpose to play other than winning, and they're winning for DeMar. So in this one, I don't even know. What are your thoughts on this game, Darius?
Yeah, like you said, Jake, I think this one is definitely a coin flip. You could arguably say that outside of San Francisco, the Bills and the Bengals are the two hottest teams in the NFL right now. I mean, you've got the Bengals, who had a very shaky start to their regular season. They've won their last 9 games. Joe Burrow, 35 touchdowns to 12 interceptions. Those are Patrick Mahomes numbers. Jamar Chase in the wild card round against Baltimore this past weekend, 9 receptions, 84 yards for a touchdown. I think when it comes down to both these teams, I think Joe Burrow has the more consistent weapons behind him. Like, Jamar Chase is going to get at least 1 touchdown, and Tyler Boyd is going to have a solid game. T. Higgins, this is the second best receiver on that team. Along with the running game, I think Cincinnati's running game is superior to Buffalo's just with Joe Mixon. But you can't count out Josh Allen and his connection to Stephon Diggs. And I think with the emergence of Gabe Davis as one of your secondary wide receivers, there's really no surprise why Buffalo won 13 games this year. They won their last 8 games. Josh Allen didn't look great against Miami, though. So I think Josh Allen has been slipping a bit at the end of the season. But, as I mentioned, I think Stephon Diggs is going to be a huge X factor in this one. And if Devin Singletary can have a big game on the ground for Buffalo, this could end up being in their favor. And we obviously know with Bills Mafia how loud that stadium is going to be. So I'm going to take the Bills slightly, but I would not be shocked if the Bengals go back to the AFC Championship game.
I agree with you there. This line, it's at 5.5 for the game. The Bills are minus 5.5. I think it's a really good line. I mean, that game could come down to a game-winning field goal, could come down to a game-winning touchdown drive. I don't think anybody's getting blown out.
No.
Hopefully that doesn't come back to bite me now. But I don't think anyone's getting blown out in this one. I think it is going to be a battle of who can throw for more touchdowns, and I think we could see Joe Burrow and Josh Allen both at 350-plus passing yards. I mean, it could be a wild game.
I'll definitely say this. I think if it does come down to a last-second game-winning drive and Joe Burrow has the ball, I think the Bengals win. I think Joe Burrow is probably the most clutch quarterback in the NFL, just with, and you have to give credit to the weapons he has, especially with Jamar Chase. But if I'm Buffalo, I don't want Joe Burrow getting the ball with 1:30 left in the game whatsoever.
No, that is definitely something you don't want to see. We've seen him lead game-winning touchdown drives. We've seen him. He's poised. The moment's never too big for him. You don't want to be down to him in the fourth quarter at all. I think if Buffalo goes in to that game down in the fourth quarter, if they can't get ahead with more than 10 minutes left, I think it could be a tough scene for Buffalo. I'm very, very impressed with the way Joe Burrow's played in the fourth quarter for most of the season.
And you remember the AFC Championship game last year? It looked like the Bengals were dead in the water, 23-3 at halftime, I think, and then came roaring back. Joe Burrow played out of his mind, and they went on all the way to go to the Super Bowl.
I agree. I mean, I'm excited to watch this game, to say the least.
Absolutely.
It is going to be one really good game. And then the last game of the night, 6:30, Dallas Cowboys traveling to the San Francisco 49ers. And this line's at minus 3.5 for San Francisco, but I think it's too small.
Yeah.
I think the Niners are going to go in and just roll past the Cowboys when they come to town.
I can see why people say that, just because it's the Cowboys and there's always this hype around the Cowboys. But what I saw from them against Tampa Bay this past Monday, it wasn't just that the fact that they won, but it was how dominant they were against a Tom Brady-led team. I think you could say that that performance by Dak Prescott against Tampa Bay was the best performance he's ever had in his entire career.
I agree.
I mean, the pressure on him, especially after last year in that debacle against San Francisco at home in the wild card game, the fact that he was able to step up and pretty much dominate the game from start to finish, 25 of 33, 305 yards, 4 touchdown passes, no picks. The Cowboys are definitely going into San Francisco with a lot of momentum. Their defense is no joke, especially with Micah Parsons on the field. But I think I'm going to take the 49ers as well in this game. I think with the success we've seen from Brock Purdy, it's proof that Kyle Shanahan's system works pretty much with any quarterback. It can work with Jimmy Garoppolo. Once Trey Lance gets healthy, I think it can work for him. And we can see right now that it's working for Brock Purdy as well. So I think the Niners, at the end of the day, just have more talent on the field. You can say they're the most complete team in football with on both ends, on offense and on defense, which I think gets very overlooked given that their offense is so talented. But with this game also being in Santa Clara, I think it gives the Niners an edge, and I think they go back to the NFC Championship game as they did a year ago.
I agree right there with you, Darius. After watching them roll through the Seahawks in the fourth quarter, the Seahawks kept them close through 3 quarters, which I was blown away by.
I was too.
But
yeah.
If the Niners offense can produce and defense can produce the way they did the entire game, and then plus that fourth quarter, you need the offense in the fourth quarter plus the defense through the entire game. In my opinion, if that offense is clicking, at their highest level, the Cowboys, I don't think stand a chance.
I mean, I'm going to be interested to see how Dak Prescott looks against this San Francisco defense, because I don't think it's, a question of when you're comparing Tampa Bay and San Francisco, like of the superior defense. San Francisco is built for games like this, and I really want to see how Dak comes out on the road after a 4-touchdown game against arguably the best quarterback that we've ever seen, if he's going to retire or not, in Tom Brady. But I'm going to be excited to watch this one for sure. I think 2 very talented teams, going at it. It's a great slate of games this weekend, and I'm super excited.